This video is designed to help you with the basics of transforming an expression or a linear equation in this case from standard form. This is what's called standard form, where it's in the form ax plus by equals some constant. So this is standard form, and transforming it into our slope-intercept form of y equals mx plus b. So if we were to do this, what we want to do is essentially solve, in quotations, this equation for y, in the sense that we want to get y equals some stuff. So in order to do this, we want to follow the same process that we would do for solving an equation for y, regardless of the fact that there's an x involved. So what we would do is isolate the variables that we're interested in. Excuse me, that should be 3x. So we're going to isolate the y term, and therefore what we've got with this transformation is 4y equals negative 3x plus 10, and I've written it in that order because we'd like it into y equals mx plus b format. Now what we're going to do is get a 1y, so we're going to divide each side by 4. So we're going to divide each side by 4, and the result of that, of course, is that we have y on the left side, and we have to be careful on the right side, because what we now have is an expression of two terms that we're dividing by 4, which means we have to divide each term by 4. What that's going to give us is the result negative 3/4 x, and we have to divide 10 by 4, which means plus 10/4, and if we're to simplify that as much as possible, you would probably want to write it as negative 3/4 x plus 5/2 or 2.5. Either way. Any of these would be an appropriate way of writing this expression. Here we have a linear equation or equation in slope-intercept form. That is, it's in y, the standard or the classic y equals mx plus b form, where we have slope as m and the y-intercept as 0, b. And we might want to put this into standard form, the reverse of what we did on our previous slide. In that case, what we want to do is put it into ax plus by equals c form, which would require us to get the x terms and the y terms all on the same side. So we're going to do that by subtracting 2/3 x from each side, subtract 2/3 x from each side, and I'm going to write that result as negative 2/3 x plus 1y, just to remind ourselves that it's y, equals 4. Now, classically speaking, or strictly speaking, when you do this, you should have all your coefficients be non-fractions. In other words, you should have integer coefficients, which means that we need to clear the denominator. At the same time, it would probably be conventional to keep the coefficient of x as positive. So what I'm going to multiply both sides by is, I'm going to multiply each side by negative 3. So I'm going to come along and multiply by negative 3. And what that's going to get when we distribute to each side, negative 3 times negative 2/3 is positive 2, so we're going to get 2x. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3, so we're going to get 2x minus 3y, or plus negative 3y, whichever way you want to write it, equals negative 12. And there you have an equation in slope-intercept form transformed into standard form with the conventional integer coefficients for the variables, and generally speaking, you want to keep the x coefficient as positive, though it's not strictly required by everybody.